וברוכים הבאים לתוכנית השראה מעשית, Practical Inspiration. אני אורלי בר-קימה. יזמתי את התוכנית הזאת לפני מעל כשנה כדי לעשות איזשהו חיבור בין עולם הרוח לעולם החומר, להביא מסרים ממנטורים, מנהיגים רוחניים, אנשים שמחוללים שינוי בעולם, להביא אותם לפה, לארץ, כדי לאפשר גם לקהל בארץ להתחבר למסרים האלה. האורחת שלי היום היא קרן ברג, יושבת ראש המרכז לקבלה העולמי, שפועל היום ב-40 מדינות בעולם, ובעצם את גם המנהלת וגם המורה הרוחנית היום של המרכז.
יש עוד.
עם עוד מורים נוספים.
כן, אחד או שתיים.
כן. אז אני אציג קצת את עצמי למי שלא מכיר אותי. אני עיתונאית, מאמנת, מרצה ומנחה של סדנאות העצמה והתפתחות אישית, ומחברת של הספר שנקרא להיפתח לשינוי. והמטרה שלי או החזון שלי זה להביא כמה שיותר את המסרים של אור ושל שמחה ושל אהבה ושל אחדות ושל שלום לעולם הזה, ולהביא אותם גם דרך מורים, דרך סיפורים של השראה וסיפורי חיים מעניינים, אבל גם דרך כלים מעשיים. זאת אומרת, החיבור הזה של לקחת מהרוח ולהביא את זה ליום יום שלנו, ואני חושבת שגם המרכז לקבלה, שאני תלמידה שלו מהעבר, בדיוק עושה את החיבורים האלה, של איך לקחת את הרעיונות הנשגבים האלה שכולנו רוצים ושואפים אליהם, ולממש אותם פה, לא על איזשהו מנזר בהרים בטיבט, אלא כאן בתוך החיים שלנו. אז אנחנו נעבור לאנגלית, ואני אעשה את הרעיון באנגלית. אז thank you very much, Karen, for accepting the invitation and joining me in this show. I know that you met the Rav Berg 40 years ago, 50 years ago?
Yeah, 40.
When you were just a little girl or a teenager, and that shifted your life. Not immediately, after a few years, but I want to ask you, did you know, did something inside you knew the moment that you met the Rav that your life is going to change?
Well, what I did know is that, remember that when I was 21, I was a medium. And I loved the world of spirit. Even as a child, I lived in that.
You were attracted to it?
Always and always. And when I met the Rav, I sort of had he told me that he was studying Kabbalah, that he had his teacher in Israel, in Jerusalem. And I said to him immediately, teach me Kabbalah. Well, I said something else. I says, what do you know about Kabbalah, actually?
Because you've heard something, you had like a notion of what is it?
Explain to me. He says, what do you know, talking to me? And after all, I'm a secular woman who had no experience in the Jewish world whatsoever. No experience, certainly not in the world of religious people. And he says, what do you know about Kabbalah? He says, well, I've read so many esoteric books, and I've done so much study in that world, and it seems to me that the mother of all spiritualities, they always talk about Zohar, they always talk about Kabbalah as the essence. It's interesting. And then I said, how's about you teach me Kabbalah, and I'll work for you for free. Whatever you need in the States, I'll do for you. That was the beginning, that was the point, and that's where our relationship actually started. He invited me that night to join him and some friends that he had for dinner. Mm-hmm. And we went to a place, Ratner's, that doesn't exist anymore in the States. We had that dinner together, and that started our relationship. 6 weeks into this relationship, I have a dream. And I'm about to meet him in the morning for breakfast at a certain place. And I'm ecstatic. I am so happy about my dream. And he looked like, somebody passed away. He was like, and he said, I have to tell you something. And I said, no, I have to tell you something. I said, listen to me first. He says, okay. Now you need to understand that my first meeting, real meeting with the Rav, was 3 days after Pesach and exactly after the Shiva of his teacher that passed away 3 days in Pesach. So it was sort of like a conversion of a kind. Then I tell him the dream, and I say, this man comes to me dressed in this very strange black garb, and I explain how he looks and where he is. He puts his hands over my head and says a prayer in a language that I don't understand. And when I go to grab for him, which is the way I would act, he sort of disappears. And with that, the Rav's face becomes shiny and beautiful. And he says to me, I came here to tell you that I'm not allowed to teach you. Because last night I asked my teacher if I have the right, if I have an opening. And I asked him to come to me and tell me, and he didn't. He said, but he came to you. So that
was a sign for him.
That was the start of a relationship that ended when he left, but ended when he really got sick. But so I looked at this man, and I said, like my mother told me to, are you out of your mind? I mean, he isn't.
You were divorced? You had children?
I had 2 children who were totally sick. The only thing I knew about Judaism was that we all got together on Yom Kippur and had a feast. That was my idea. That was Judaism. Anyhow, and I'm looking at this guy who's obviously dati, and I'm saying, okay, what's the connection? What's going on here? I mean, how does this work? And I realized that, not then, but later, that the connection would be that I would sort of bring him into the world of exposure to a life that's different in many ways, and he would bring me an internal exposure of where my soul truly sat and what my purpose was going to be. And that was the joining part. It was beautiful because it had nothing to do with how he looked and how I looked, where we were.
It was like you say in the Kabbalah, a match from heaven.
It was a
merger
of soul immersion that had nothing really to do with, the plane that we lived on, because the plane that we lived on, there was no match at all. There was nothing familiar on either side. And so that was the way I met the Rav.
So when you look back now, when you think about like when you were younger, when you were a child, we have things that shape us as human beings. What shaped you to do the work that you do today? If you could take one thing, from your childhood or from your past, sometimes it's something that hurt us, it's the wounds that shape us, and then we understand why we had to go through them.
Well, I do believe that that's true, because I raised myself. You see, I never knew my father. My mom was a very young my mom was a very young woman who was looking to find her life, and I was a baby. And actually, I lived mostly with a grandma, and I learned to respond to my own being, because I didn't have that atmosphere. And I really feel that had I been raised as what they call a normal child, which I don't know exactly what that means, I probably wouldn't have had the ability to connect as I did. The connection came because I had no choice but to have another source.
Your inner world
My inner
evolved.
World. Exactly. Because I had no source for the outer world. I went to 13 public schools through the 8th grade, so I didn't learn anything. I didn't have any friends, nor did I have family. I was absolutely within myself in many ways. And because I was in myself, and I hope you're people listening or hearing, I developed, I'm not paranoia, but I developed a different kind of a voice, a different kind of a hearing. I heard things that most people don't hear. And
weren't you scared of it? Weren't you
not
frightened?
at all, because I was comfortable in that world. I knew that that was my protection, that there was my Ima, there was my Abba, in a place that said, don't worry, we're here. And it was that made me to do the things that I do. And when I met the Rav, it was sort of like, okay, he'll change, you'll change, and you've got a job to do here in this world. So just go ahead and get to it. Now we moved to Israel. I had no language, no friends, no family. Again, same place, but I had someone that would die for me and me for him. I had a connection that wasn't based on, we had nothing. We had $4,000 and 2 children from a first marriage. Nothing. And it was the most fantastic years of our life. Because in those years we were able to print, we were able to create the different books, to develop. Our first classes were here in Beit Zion, America, where we taught for the first time men and women together.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about that. You know, what they say that the Kabbalah is only for men until then, and over 40, and it was all secrets and secrets. You weren't allowed to teach it or to learn it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know that well.
And I know that you made a decision to open it.
Yes.
To women, to Christian, to Buddhism, to everybody. So everybody could benefit from this secret in their life. And I want to ask you about this decision that you made. What gave you the power to do it?
Wasn't me, tell you that. Wasn't me.
Because you got a lot of resistance.
Oh, yeah, of course. But, you know, I was born for this role. That's why I was raised the way I was, came where I am. I believe that first of all, I know that it's not my doing. I'm a messenger. I was sent into a role. I got put into these shoes to do the role that I've done. Now, to answer your question, there are 2 parts to Kabbalah. There is a part that they call Sitrei Torah, which means the mystery. That was the way Moses, with the use of the Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, was able to kill the Egyptians, or to do any of the acts of what's called miracles, because he had the ability to use this power. This isn't taught. For this to be taught, one has to be above the age of 40, has to have been well schooled in all the levels of learning. But
and
even
also
more than,
initiations, I understand.
Exactly.
Energetic
Exactly.
initiations.
Then an entity comes and will teach one-on-one. Because there are places in the Zohar you'll read Sitrei Torah. When it says that, read it. You won't understand a word of it. Because it's coded for the people that are on that level that can comprehend that. But the second level, what they call Tamei Torah, taste. Why am I here? Why do I belong to this family? What is it in my life that I have to change? What is the things that I have to do? How do I move my movie forward? The things that taste and give you the expression of life. That you can move away from a situation and say, okay, why did that just happen to me? These answers exist within that place called Tamei Torah. And it means like when you set up a telephone wire, right? You set up a telephone and you put it all together, and then you pick up 2 ends and you say, now let's see if it's going to work. It's the juice. It's the thing that allows you to understand your life's purpose. And for that, Rabbi Shimon, Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, says, a child of 6 can learn. And that's, by the way, what we teach.
So you actually use the tools that you can use to help people run their life better.
Exactly.
Have better relationships, build businesses, and enjoy life.
Right.
Not
On another
suffer.
level. On another level.
So the part of the secret is not taught.
Yeah, but the part of the secret is more like, that part is more like an alchemy or a place that, there are levels within ourselves that we reach, and there is a certain level that's called going beyond the veil. And to go beyond the veil, you have to reach that level before the veil. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, it can't be taught to everybody because no one's ready. And those that are know they are, and those are the ones that are taught. And those that are truly taught, you won't hear about them. You don't know about them, they won't talk about them. Because it's...
I interviewed, and I am also a student of the Modern Mystery School. And I interviewed, a few months ago, Gudni Gudnison, who is the headmaster and the key holders of the chain that goes back to King Solomon. So he's one of the people who has no veil, and he's teaching it now to people. So how do you feel about that? That really these secrets, and they also teach universal Kabbalah, which I understand that there is a difference between the Kabbalah that you teach. Do you know what the differences of the universal Kabbalah and?
I don't know the differences. I won't say that I do, but I'll tell you one thing. That I believe that truth is truth. And whether it's Zen Buddhism, or whatever it is that makes a person better in the way he integrates and lives with others, is beautiful. And it should be done all over the world.
So this is another interesting point. Like I saw that you did the 21 days and you interviewed Zen Buddhism teachers, Zen Ho'oponopono, and all kinds of other spiritual traditions and teachings in the world. And it's beautiful that you're saying we are not the only way. There are many ways to God, and everybody can choose their own path.
Absolutely.
And walk on their own path.
Absolutely. I believe the teachings, the Kabbalah, Rabbi Ashlag, who was the origin of the Baal Sulam, he writes about global spirituality. Okay. Of course, in his day, it wasn't an acceptable practice, but he says that the law of energy is the same. There is never a loss of energy.
The light is the light.
It changes form, but the light is the light. So however we reach that place that says we are one, we are integrated, we are together, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we agree that each one of us, even on our own path, are part of the same light.
That is why I made this show. It's the same vision because I was taught a lot from all kinds of traditions. And one day I said, what's going on here? Everybody is speaking about the same thing.
Right.
And the God is one and the truth is one, but everybody is teaching it in a different way. So how can I be a messenger of this message that there is one truth? I can bring all kinds of teachers and healers and spiritual leaders from all over the world, and people will see that they all speak about the same thing.
You know, you should see, one year we do Rosh Hashanah. And Rosh Hashanah, the prayers are in Hebrew. But we will have people there from the Ivory Coast, from New Zealand, from Australia, from Alaska, from any place you want in the world. 3,000 people. Jews, Muslims, Christians, all together under one roof. And you know what? Nobody says, hi, I understand you're this, or I understand you're that. All they understand is, hi, brother, how are you? How's your year been? This is, if I had my ability to do what I want, this is what I think the world should be. I think that there is in the light itself, it says that there is a unity. We're all part of that, whatever you want to call it, the creator, call it light, call it energy, whatever it is. As long as you have a practice that makes you connect with your own internal goodness, your own internal desire to be a part of something greater than yourself, that's what's important.
And to bring it to others, and to do your work. Because we do it to give.
Absolutely.
It's not only for us.
It's a magal.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
So, you chose Kabbalah as your path. And what do you think is the specialty or the uniqueness that Kabbalah brings into the world?
Well, Kabbalah basically teaches about the idea of the circular motion. That whatever the sharing is equal to the amount of receiving. That there is no, we don't deny anything. The word Kabbalah says, take whatever you want. Get what you want. However, under one condition. That whatever you want for yourself, you also want for somebody else. There's always a piece that allows for somebody else to be a part. Or some community, or something extra. It means that, for me, it was the concept of learning how to experience our spirituality and also to bring that experience to other people. And Kabbalah, for me, was the way that I felt that. I felt the energy, I felt the teachings, I felt the idea of, lechem b'zayon, and the idea of ein kviya b'ruchani, and the Kabbalah 101 teachings, that in order for us to receive anything in this world, there has to be an effort in that receiving. It's sort of different than there are people who believe that their lives are meant. There are people that meditate all day and they go to monasteries and things, and fine. But the Kabbalah says that you cannot change. You don't change your negative nature. You convert whatever that's negative to use it for the positive and for the good. So if I'm a very selfish human being, and I only care about myself, the only way that I can transport that is by saying, you're selfish, okay, now take all the energy you have and all the process you have and all that selfishness you have, and when you push it out of yourself to somebody else, wow, look at how much more you receive for yourself. Okay? That's my process. That's what I believe. I believe that if I'm somebody that has this tremendous desire to go out and build the world, and I can go out and build the world, but inside that world I can also find a place where I can have a community over here and people learning over there and people doing something else over here, but I can be the builder and I can still receive from everything that I've done. And
this is abundance. This is where you get the abundance.
Because the idea of people, abundance meaning just for themselves alone, I don't know, but I would guess that most of them are very lonely. Because they do have, but it's not a fulfillment.
Yeah.
Fulfillment, in our perspective, fulfillment can only come if there is a mutual receiving of some kind, either with other people or a community or whatever it is. There must constantly be this receiving and giving.
The cycle.
And that will create fulfillment.
So being a spiritual person or spiritual being, what does it mean for you?
Me?
Yeah.
For myself?
Yeah, being spiritual,
That I open my
now
mouth.
The spirituality is all over the place and all over the world, and everybody is saying, I'm spiritual, I'm spiritual. What is being spiritual to you?
Understanding that the people around you, each one has their own place to be and who they are. And to be the person to be there to listen and to help if you're asked and not to help if you're not asked. To be the model for other people so that they see how you live, how you work. And through that they see or become different. And for myself personally to understand that I'm a messenger. It's not me, Karen Berg, who's, at all. I know that if I weren't sitting here, and somebody else would be sitting here because that message had to be delivered to the world. And I believe that this polarity, which is this negative that we see in the world, all the fights,
lots of negativity,
only means that on the other side that there's so much light that needs to be delivered. because there's always the balance between negative and positive, always. And we always say that God doesn't give us more than we can handle.
Yeah. So, now that everybody's learning Kabbalah, as you said, all kinds of religions and all kinds of people from all over the world, what is the special role for the Jewish people, which is the chosen people, as they say in the Bible? Is there, by your perspective, a special role that the Jewish community or people has to do?
You know, I don't know if you've read or heard about this, but Rob, my husband, used to say that the chosen people means that the Jew is chosen to have the biggest ratzon lekabel atzmi. I want, it's my home. And our job as a Jewish nation is to turn that around and to make that ratzon lekabel latet. And what we were chosen for was we were given the highest degree of the desire to receive for the self alone. And because of that, our job is to take this highest degree in polarity and turn it around into a desire to share. And when we can transmute that energy into a positive energy, then we'll be able to bring that type of light into this place called Israel.
So we the role is to inspire others by doing it ourselves?
The role is to take our own mind, me, and change it around to a yours, we. That we as a nation, as a people, open ourselves more to share with other nations, other people, other whatever, so that they become our desire to share and not our desire to receive. And that's what the Rav says we were chosen with. Chosen, being given this largest desire to receive. What? For the purpose of converting it into the desire to share.
To transcend it,
To transcend
really.
it.
This need to get to myself.
Absolutely. And we believe that the generator of all this, of all this energy, the heart of the world, sits in Jerusalem. And so goes Jerusalem, we believe so goes the world. And it's not been makre that all these incidents are
Mostly in Jerusalem.
In Jerusalem. And it's because of this tremendous generator of energy that exists, and of what sometimes we need to do as people to go out of ourselves.
So the message will come from Jerusalem, the message of peace and yeah.
Yes, and what it means is not a message, but the generator of light, the energy for the whole world. I mean, why Jerusalem was fought by all these nations throughout, and all the religions. I mean,
there are holy places in the world,
yes,
in other places.
Mecca, there's the Vatican.
Yeah.
Why do you need this little piece of? This isn't a piece of land. This is a generator. If you will, I would call it the chakra of the world, the fourth chakra, the world, heart chakra of the world, Jerusalem.
So that's why it's so energetic.
And so
and all the
clarity.
hardship.
Yep, exactly.
So would you say that if we solve it here,
we solve it in the world?
We will solve it in the world. Wow.
Absolutely. And I believe that it can. I know it can happen. And I just think it's going to be interesting to see how this evolves.
How God is going to pull it off.
Yeah, well, we got to help him.
We have to help him.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? If you'll ask me what do I think my mission is, bring this one, do this one. Speak to people. Make people that are asleep, help them to get awake, help them to find out that, hey.
To this truth, to this unity.
To this unity. Yeah. And I don't care if it's standing up, lying down on your knees, or not at all, or just being in a space of Aveza Nirvana. It doesn't matter. It matters that I look at you and I look into your eyes and I can find love.
Well, let's talk about soulmates. We just had the International Love Day, the Valentine's Day, and many people, I know I work with women, I coach women, many people have a difficulty in this area of either finding the soulmate or the lover, or even if they are inside, even if they have a husband or a boyfriend, it's not the fulfillment of the desires. So, what is the Kabbalah's view about of being together as a man and a woman, and of doing stuff in the world together?
You know, usually you meet a person and you fall in love with them, or whatever love that is. Attraction is usually physical to start with, and then you get to know each other. Bible says something interesting. It says that Yitzhak, when he met Rivka, it says he knew her, she became his wife,
and then he loved her.
Right. Which is a fuch. It should be the opposite. He should, you know. The answer is, what did he, when he met Rivka, it says he took her into his mother's tent that had been absent of, void of light, and the light went on. And he knew her. So he knew that this was the woman that could help him complete his spiritual work in this world. Because you're talking soulmate.
Yeah.
And then he loved her because together they were able to form a union that had an interdependency. She was who she was as a person. He was who he was. Neither one was dependent on the other. But together they were able to form a place where they could do their own spiritual work, but work in tandem. Like I did with the Rav, and like many people do in the world when they meet their spiritual partner. So in order for there to be a true relationship, there has to be a core of some kind of community union between the two souls that says that if you want a good relationship, you need to do something outside that relationship. Something for your community, something for... You have to find a space inside of that union that allows each one to grow, become part of an organization that does some type of work, or learn something together, or in that way to enhance yourself. That it's not, because if you think about it rationally, two people that physically meet each other and they come together, if they don't have a core purpose to be together as a union, he does his work during the day, she does whatever she does during the day. They probably have more hours apart than together. When they get together, they can only talk about if they have children or the friends that they have.
Yeah.
If they had a core, if they had a spirituality, if they had a meaning in that place that would bind them, they had a place that they shared something outside of
an
themselves.
Idea or something
right,
beyond
exactly, beyond them, then they can form, and he loved her. That's one thing.
But most of the couples, you know, they are not like that.
I know.
Not everybody meets their soulmate.
What's the divorce rate?
A lot, you know. My child, my younger son, he said to me one day, I have three boys, and I'm married to my husband for 27 years, something like that. I say I'm with the same person, but not the same contract. We change the contracts all the time.
Yes, exactly.
So my youngest son came from school one day, and he was asking me, Ima, why are we not normal like my friends? I said, what do you mean by normal? He said, most of my friends has the father's house and the mother's house, two houses. Why we have only one house?
Tanot. Yeah, right, exactly. Because most people don't marry. They marry because they want, first of all, they want to get married. Second of all, they find beauty in each other. And they find this physical attraction.
Yeah.
And if it stays at that level, I mean, how long does it last? I mean, a year would be a lot, right?
Yeah.
And then what? If you don't have something that binds them together on a level other than the physicality, you don't have. He knew where she became his wife, and he loved her.
So what would you say, to women or men that search for the soulmate? How would they recognize it? Is it possible for everybody to meet their soulmates?
No.
Yeah.
Rav used to say most people marry their tikkun. They don't marry their soulmate. Marrying a soulmate union is a rare union. And the reason that it's considered a rare union is because two people that actually, the Zohar says that in the story of Bathsheba and David, that when actually David was ready for his soulmate, Bathsheba came to him. And she was housed in the house of Uriah until that time. Meaning that in order for a soulmate union to happen, it would have to be two people on the same spiritual level that would form harmony, so that together they would basically have the same type of thoughts, the same type of ideals, the same type of goals, the same types of reasons, and a desire to go forward to do something for the world. And that's rare.
Yeah, you don't see it a lot.
And
so when you marry your tikkun, as you say,
yeah,
and sometimes, most of the time it's the woman who is spiritually evolved more than the man.
right.
And there becomes a gap.
Yeah.
What would you recommend to
When they have the gap?
Yeah, when you have a gap, sometimes you can't. People, the women who come to me and they said, my husband is not spiritual, he doesn't understand what I'm going through, he is not, and there is the gap, it becomes larger
Yes.
if you don't do something about it.
Well, first of all, I know like many families that are, for instance, that come to class or even Shabbat and their husbands don't want to come. And I tell them, don't force them. Don't talk to them about it. Don't try to create something that doesn't exist. But because you're I don't like the word higher, but the more elevated of a spirit, try to find more time for him in the things that he enjoys. Try to be there more for him. Because you are now the teacher. And don't try, as the teacher, to teach him. Be the person that you want to be as that spiritual being, and allow that to sort of bring him closer to you. Because what happens often is somebody finds, they find themselves...
I found the light, come with me, come with me.
Sure.
You have to come
it's
to
like
learn with
it's
me.
It's like the mother that's forcing the food into the child.
Yeah.
Like my mom wanted to give me rice pudding. Until this day I can't stand it because she would stand with a spoon like this. And one of the first teachings is Ein kfiya b'ruchani. You can't force. So what you do is you find more terribly frustrated to be married to someone who doesn't understand you. But it's also frustrating for him because you don't understand him. So if you're the more enlightened, so find yourself a way to his level. If he enjoys, going to the movies or playing cards or go with him. Don't say, no, I have to learn. No, I want to do this. No, the opposite. And by being able to join him at his space, may bring him closer to you. Because what happens is when this gap happens...
Separation.
So what does the wife do? Okay, he's let him stay where he is, and she grows further and further away. But in fact, what she should be doing is saying, okay, well, what do I do here? Do I really want to go away, or do I want to find a space that says, forget what I've learned, forget where I am, how can I make this man happy? And they don't do that. They do the opposite of that action.
And that becomes separation.
That's right. The people have come to me and said, what should I do? Be here for Shabbat? Because my husband wants me to go to a family affair, and I want to be here for Shabbat. I tell them, go with your husband. Go with your husband. What? Go with your husband. What about my spiritual life? You'll get more by going with your husband.
So this is spirituality in everyday's life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I believe that a person that sits and learns all day and studies all day, prays all day, and then goes and to sleep, and this is his life, is not real spirituality.
Yeah.
Spirituality is how I treat every person every day.
And myself also.
Yeah.
Because most of the time we gives ourselves, the judgment and the blame and the shame. It's first about ourselves, because what we meet outside is usually something that we feel, something that is inside us. So if we're not content, it's not outside, it's something inside us that we have to work about.
I once said that in one of the lectures, he said, when you see that person that you really don't like, that irritates you there.
He's the greatest teacher.
It's a mirror. Take a good look. Yeah, cool.
So, I want to ask you about women and women's role in the world. We're coming to the International Women's Day on the 8th of March. And for me, as a teacher for women, I believe that the International Women's Day is every day. It's not only one day a year, but every reason for a celebration is a good reason. So I want to ask you about women's leadership. And what do you think is the women's role? Because I feel, from my studies and from my meetings with people, that there is a shift that is going in the world energetic in the few years, the last few years, maybe decade, and it's going to be even more. That the role of women is changing, and the women, the feminine energy, is more evolved and should take a greater part in serving the world, in bringing change into the world. How do you feel about it?
So, Kabbalistically speaking, the female represents the world of Malchut.
Yes.
The world of kingdom in which we live. And when that energy grows, when the light becomes more dominant, the energy of this world becomes more evolved and more evolved. And that energy is seen as a representative of the female. And that is why today we see more and more the female in business leader, corporations, may even have a president, even in the United States that's a woman, and Merkel and other places in the world where heretofore it wouldn't happen, that the role will be more and more until hopefully eventually there will be some form of a meeting between male and female energy. So
yeah, because we don't want to exclude them. We want them in. We
course,
like them.
Yeah, they're very good for us. Just we should all have our own place. That's
yes.
all. And that's what it says. It says that that's the eventuality, that the role of the female or the female energy will evolve. And as that evolves, so will the things that transcend in the world.
So do you have tips for women who want to influence more in the world, who want to do, because we are all doing in our own house. How can we bring it more out? How can we maybe collaborate or do things together, as I see it, to bring that energy, to change, to shift? Because what we see, as we talked about before, it's all the hardship and the wars and the guns and the competition, and it's more it's male energy that dominated the last few hundred years. I don't know how much. So it's time for a change.
Well, I always said if they nominated women to be the leaders of the world, we would have peace. But okay, I'm a little bit Pollyanna in that regard. But the truth is that we need to do that. Well, we need to sort of combine that feminine energy in the world, and to have, wherever we are, in whatever stage we're at, wherever place we are, the unity with the other, and sort of to bring that energy, if we can, somehow, into a unifying force, so that, one speaker is one thing, 10 speakers another, and 1,000 speakers doing the same thing creates a huge amount of energy. And I do believe it's our role to do that in the world, to be able to not only play our own parts, but to accept others as well.
So we're coming to the end of this intriguing interview for me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for it. I want to close it with two things. First, I know that the Rav passed away physically, and you are now the leader of the Kabbalah center in the world. What is your vision for the center? How are you going to see that it's evolving in the 5-10 years from now?
Well, we're in the process of a training program for new teachers. That's number one. And that's a good thing. But I believe that online digital stuff is going to be the way to go in the future for all over the world. And more aspects of that we'll use in the center.
To reach more people.
To reach more people. But also, my own personal thing is that I really want to get involved with this program of unity, peace for people. To be able to have different figures in the world, and wherever they are, come together on one platform and talk about the unifying force of respectability and human dignity. And that's one of the things I'm looking to do in the future, to be a conduit. Whereas I would love you to come, whoever you are, to come and speak on a platform, but understand that whoever you are and whatever you teach, nobody wants to change that. But we do want to have a unity. I mean, I'm a Muslim, you're a Jew, you're a Buddhist, you're whatever it is, we should be able to speak together our own peace, and each one to be looked at with the respectability and human dignity, and to be a conduit for that, to make a home where that can happen, where people can talk their piece and their truth, and nobody's going to try to change that, but accept and be a part of each other.
To create this space
that
allows everybody to bring himself.
Exactly. Exactly, and that's
beautiful.
For me, that's important.
And the last thing that I want to ask you about, even though I could talk to you, for another 2-3 hours, and I have a lot to ask you, is the thing that in the spiritual zone now, everybody's talking about being who we are. And you talk about the internet, and there are many teachers all around the world. Everybody's talking about be who we are. What is for you the meaning of this? It becomes a little overspoken. Everybody's telling you have to be who you are. What does it mean to be who? Who am I? What am I doing here? Why did I come here for?
First of all, be who you are can be a little bit problematic, because if I'm a nudnik, I'm a nudnik, So I'm not sure about that. But what I am sure about is that, we're all a child of God. We're all a child of the Creator, child of the light, if you will, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And that we have certain parts of us that was put into our being to change, maybe from prior karma, from a prior lifetime, or from now. And to be who you are, for me, if you want to use that expression, which I don't, because I feel sometimes people are so busy being who they are that they forget that there's other people in the world. And these are the people that spend all day trying to find out who they are.
Yeah.
And they forget.
Drilling.
Yeah.
Drilling all day.
And for me, I got things inside of me that I need to change. And I've got frailties, I've got faults, but meanwhile, I'm doing something with myself. I'm not spending all of my day trying to find me, which sometimes people do. But if you ask me what it means that you've been put into this world with a certain part of the thing, whether it's whatever the aspect of your life is, that's the most difficult for you. That's probably where you were last lifetime too, and now you're here to change that, to evolve that into something else. So being who you are is to find that place, that desire, that negative space inside of you, and to change it into the aspect of being able to put light into it. Same thing with healing, I believe that people have the ability to heal themselves, but they don't have that ability if they concentrate only on themselves. Because sometimes we get so busy with ourselves, we don't leave space for the light because it's already full. I filled it with me. And And if I allow to open and allow myself to, okay, you know.
To be a little emptier.
Yeah, so that the light can come in. Exactly.
Make space.
Make space. Exactly. So I'm not sure the expression be who you are in that sense. Because all we are is a particle of the light of the Creator. And our job in this lifetime is, the game is to take the negatives that we receive and jump over our hurdles so that we would be responsible and capable of enjoying that light that's inside of us with fulfillment. And that's basically the teachings that we do. Teach people.
To evolve. So our mission when we come here in the physical is to change ourselves, to evolve, to become
exactly.
better, to be a vessel for light,
right.
And for love, and to bring it to others.
When it's the most difficult. And it's very easy to be charming and nice when everything's going your way. Yeah. But when the plumbing breaks and the kids are screaming and the boss is on your head, that's the time when you go to the light.
Well, that's a beautiful ending for this interview.
Thank
Karen
you.
Berg, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For being here. תודה רבה לכם שהייתם איתנו בתוכנית השראה מעשית. Thank you for being in practical inspiration. I'm Orly בר-קימה, sending you love and peace and unity. And see you soon on our next show. Bye bye. תודה.